Good evening and welcome to Stories for the Cooped Up and Captive. Tonight, this one's going to be for my buddy Jay Walker, just because he's a great guy. Well, this time of year, I get a little geeked out about wildflowers. So, about 4 years ago, I wrote a story about Wisconsin wildflowers. We all may remember the bone-dry pitchman from Motel 6, Tom Bodett. We'll leave the light on for you. Well, he was also an author. He wrote this book called The End of the Road, and a philosopher. He was waxing on the enormity of Alaska when he said, "Standing on the rim of a gaping fjord, I realized that if you were to dump every one of the billions and billions of hamburgers McDonald's ever sold into the bottom, you could barely see them." Well, Tom, Wisconsin's not so bad either. Now keep in mind, this story was written about, I said 4 years ago, about 2 years ago. So apropos of the time in general, 10 years ago came the garlic mustard weed. From west to east, it spread like disco and bell-bottoms, obliterating nearly everything of beauty and taste in its path. If you looked hard, you could still find an occasional daylily or a purple phlox, but the chicory did not give an inch. Imported from Europe in the late 1800s, garlic mustard grew to be 4 feet tall and smelled like an Italian sous chef's dirty laundry. Either repulsed by our current political environment, or it simply run its course. The noxious weed seems to be in full retreat, at which time I'm going to have to take a little bit of a pause. When I wrote this, it really did seem as if garlic mustard weed was retreating. Well, it's back with vengeance. Once again, rendering a trip through Wisconsin's blue highways a digitally detached feast of the senses. On July 15th, we saddled up to celebrate my brother Glenn's 61st birthday with a Sunday morning tour around western Jefferson County. As a kid, Glenn was doing CrossFit in Kalamazoo, Michigan, 20 years before Reebok made their first shoe. His knees and shoulders have outperformed several limited lifetime warranties, yet he still looks 10 years my junior. Here's the thing about old guys on bikes. Every ride is preceded by a half-ass hamstring stretch and dueling claims of futility. Well, Glenn, by the time we get to Hack's Farm, I will have doubled my miles for the year. Oh man, I'm with you. I had one too many mugs of Ballin' the Queen last night at Tyranina, and my knee is on fire. We agreed this would be an easy social ride. Then we clipped in and tried to rip each other's legs off. We kicked off from the parking lot at the Lake Mills Veterinary Clinic. The morning, so still the fog barely stirred over Rock Lake, lying flat as a mirror. The ground clouds hovered just above the canopy of flowers hunkered beneath. In fallow fields and roadsides, we passed under the interstate, and condos gave way to cornfields. The morning smelled like mist over a marsh. They were once but speed bumps. Now, we're off our saddles and panting hard, refusing to succumb to the rolling hills of Airport Road. 2 miles into our tour, the highway symphony fades. A breeze picks up and suddenly it occurs. The fields are alive. The canvas upon which the midsummer masterpiece is painted is the Queen Anne's lace and golden Alexander. Like tiny wispy white and yellow umbrellas, every ditch not mowed, waterway, and hillside shimmers like the Milky Way over a Colorado midnight. As Glenn opens up the gap, my head drops to where the black top meets the roadbed. There grows the indefatigable chicory, camouflaging 1,000 empty Miller Lite cans and cigarette butts, prized by many. Her bittersweet roots sink deep into the hard pan. With tortuous barbed wire stems, she is unfazed by drought and tar, pretty as a weathered farm wife with arms tanned on a tractor seat and shoulders hardened by 1,000 bales of alfalfa. The dusty blue fronds of the flower, like the bandana that tends her hair from the concern on her brow and the kind in her temple. You'd never know they were there, but as the mid-July sun climbed the sky, burning through the corn fog and heat waves, began to blur the blacktop, the ditchweed divas, not showing their beauty until after coffee and croissants, and only then if the sun shines brightly. So if you notice the camera moved a little bit, that's because the big stink decided that he wanted to be part of Stories for the Cooped Up and Captive. And when the big stink shows up, he is not to be denied. 30 miles in, we paused at the corner of West Medina Road and State Highway 73 to ensure the ping in my pocket was not a veterinary emergency and to catch my breath. I took a pull from my water bottle, gnawed a corner off a Cliff Bar, and gazed down valley to Interstate 94. All aflow with out-of-state SUVs, hybrids, and half-tons. They only get to pass through. Between the gusts of the west breeze came a crescendo of the hum of radials on concrete and the thrum of dozing drivers jolted awake by the white line rumble strip. Between the river of weekenders and our country road cornice rolled 1,000 acres of silage corn, spike leaves jutting skyward to announce the coming tassel, and curling to escort any drop of dew straight to its roots. Just beyond, Farmer Dave half emerges from the bowels of his machine shed, absently pulls a faded red shop towel from his back pocket to wipe the axle grease and mumbles a Hail Mary. He hopes for a market break to drive prices closer to break even. One nostril draw directed my eyes to 20 acres of second crop alfalfa laying in windrows just before the baler gathers it, binds it, and throws it into the wagon behind. The next waft, 80 Holsteins just over the hill. I finished off our rest stop with a water bottle baptism and a swig. As a lukewarm Gatorade dropped off my chin, I wadded the half of the Cliff brick into my jersey pocket and shuffled my left shoe into the god-awful pea gravel. I clicked my right foot into the pedal. Glenn issued a disclaimer number 2. I'm starting to see stars, man. We'll really have to take it easy. In 2 miles, he dropped me like a landline. A delicate flower hanging forlorn from a tiny stem, like the outcast who ate lunch by herself, resurrects profound sadness of the day garlic mustard weed overtook the red columbine. But here they are. Near the trestle over Rock Lake, the 10-year cloud lifted as I spied her in the scrabble beneath the stop sign at the corner of Medina and Ridge. She'd been the only one we'd see all day. She'd be the only one we'd see all day. Flag poles, mailboxes, and an occasional power pole, all adorned with purple and white blocks. After opening the Summer Flower Festival like an a cappella gospel group, half between Mother's and Father's Day, they hid backstage for June and July, only to come back to sing harmonies with the headliners for a pre-fall curtain call. We rolled into Cambridge on County Highway O, and I chuckled. Flags, banners, and signs beckoned families to check out the Vineyards of Cambridge, a host site for the 2018 Madison Builders Parade of Homes. On the south side of the hedgerow, on the north side, was 40 acres of summer wheat, recently combined and spread with manure. If the notion of another tariff, tweet, or headline makes your stomach turn like Sacha Baron Cohen in tighty whities, ditch the device and take a hike, bike, or drive. Well, I apologize for any distraction, but once again, I'm blaming them on the big stink. And if all else fails, as usual, keep things moving forward.